right, we are recording. Mr. Albert Holmes, Al, uh, I'm happy you reached out to me to elaborate on uh our original discussion where I was hoping to learn about the services you do at your organization, but I understand that there is there's been a disservice to you and people are trying to credit off your name. And so, in conjunction with the article coming out, I thought it'd be a good idea to record this video and have you explain that and speak your piece. And I understand you have something you'd like to read to set the tone of what's going on. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I'm going to go and film these charts that we've collected over the years. Can you see this?
I don't see the charts. No, I just see
The
you on.
camera, do I have to turn it this way?
Oh yeah, it'll be pretty difficult without
Okay, I know you can't read it. I'm just saying, but can you see it?
Oh, now I can see it. Now I can see it. Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the one from 1994.
1994. Was that the date that your organization was started?
About then, yeah.
All
And
right.
you see this young man? Can you
Mm-hmm.
see that young man that I'm sitting with?
Mm-hmm.
That's my grandson. He was 2 years old at the time. And right now he's 6'5". He's 25 years old. But at the time, he was 2 when all of this was done. This next chart, if you can see it,
I can.
is
Yeah.
from the first state fatherhood conference held in Wisconsin that we conducted in 2001. Since then, we created 4 statewide conferences every other year: '01, '03, '05, and '07. And after '07, we lost our sponsors and the funding to continue. But every 2 years, starting in 2001, we held these conferences to let people know that we were working on helping fatherhood to expand and the services of working with fathers, because back in the early 90s, Milwaukee was listed as one of the worst cities in the country
Hmm.
for teen pregnancy. And right now, in 2003, we're one of the hotspots for sex trafficking. So that is some of the reason that we started this and continue trying to keep men with their children involved in the home to the point where they become the protection for their children. Because right now, Milwaukee is listed as one of the top cities in the country for sex trafficking, boys and girls.
Hmm.
And it's been horrendous that not only have to deal with that, we have to deal with it from the perspective of most of the young people, according to police statistics, are kids from single parent homes or from homes where there are no parents, because one is in jail, one is in drug treatment, and therefore the children are out there on their own trying to do what they have to survive from one day to the next. And I helped start an organization called the House of Kings and Priests, I didn't start it. I was on the original board of directors. That organization works with foster children, boys only, who age out of foster care. And generally, these kids are usually in their junior or senior year in high school. And when the foster care parents lose their funding, they put the kids out on the street. And they do what they have to do to survive. And most of them turn to sex trafficking because they have no other alternative. They haven't become adults yet, and they have not graduated from high school. So employment and housing is very difficult at that stage. So we opened up a place called the House of Kings and Priests, run by a beautiful young lady named Bernadette Anderson and her husband. And they house about 6 or 7 young men aging out of foster care who've been put out by their foster care parents because the money was cut off. This gentleman, Mr. Douglas Steiger, was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Legislation at the Department of Health and Human Services during President Barack Obama's first term and a counselor to the Secretary during the Obama's second term. Prior to that, he was a Senate staffer for more than a decade, and he is now an independent public policy consultant. He wrote a letter, and I got a copy of it. It's dated June 20th, 2022. It's about advocacy agencies and the asset that they bring to communities. I'm going to read just a small part just to give you a picture of what he was trying to relate to government agencies. There's another approach to dealing with this stalemate, which they're talking about having to, community nonprofits are an insurance policy for families. Community-based nonprofit organizations such as food banks, community health centers, and community action agencies like ours, they assist families all over the country in ways that do not necessarily depend on state or federal programs, though they often tap those resources in their work. Federal policies that bolster such street-level organizations may even find bipartisan support given their local roots and ties. These nonprofit organizations can connect families with supports provided by state agencies, such as assisting with complicated applications for government programs, many other direct aid of their own, such as with food and housing. These organizations also can be effective in reaching marginalized communities, such as immigrants, whether to enroll their children in Head Start or ensure that they receive tax benefits for which they are eligible. However, the financing for these social infrastructure was under pressure even before this pandemic. At a fundamental level, it is time for a comprehensive strategy to support these community nonprofit organizations to ensure American families keep getting help as we struggle through these challenging times for our politics and our economy. They represent an insurance policy for families until our federal politics and policy making becomes more functional. This is from a high-level politician and consultant to the federal government who worked under Obama's administration during his whole 8 years, and he's still a consultant in Washington, talking about advocacy agencies like ours and others who do the work on the ground in the communities, and we are not government bodies. The problem we have is the government gets the funding, but then the government doesn't want to share the funding, which keeps us alive. And that is one of the biggest problems that we face. It's not about, you know, we want just the money. But too many times, government agencies will get the money to distribute to subcontracting to agencies like mine, but they don't want to manage just the money. They want to come in and start taking over your agency and trying to manage something that they have no clue how it operates. They have no connection to the people that are being served. All they're looking at is statistics and dollars. We work with the people and the needs of the people. So that's a major issue based upon the lack of support we get from government agencies to manage our programs and do the work.
Yeah. And our conversation together was 50 minutes long, a little bit over 50 minutes long. And I'm very happy to write and tell the world about my father's house incorporated. What bothers me and what I think deserves to be brought to light in the quickest manner possible is the fact that someone is trying to take credit for your organization. And so I would like you just to explain in your own words, you know, what you told me and what's going on.
Well, basically what's happening is here recent, several people have been interviewed by different media outlets and put information on social media as well as on the internet and in the newspaper about the origin of the fatherhood movement in Milwaukee. And the people who they've been interviewing, who are trying to take credit for all this work, weren't even here at the time. They weren't in the city. One in particular, he was an aide to the U.S. congressman who was not in the city for 18 years. He only came back to the city with the congressman during election time to help solicit people to vote to keep him in office. In 2002, the state of Wisconsin, when they did the census in 2000, the census showed that Wisconsin lost population, which reduced the number of U.S. representatives that we had. Therefore, the one gentleman in particular, he lost his seat in Congress, not because he did something wrong, but because the population of the state dropped. Mm-hmm. So when he came back to the state in 2002-03, he immediately ran for office. He ran for governor. He lost. He ran second term and lost. So the next thing, the mayor got in trouble for having a sexual affair with his aide, Mayor Norquist, and this gentleman ran for office and became the mayor of the city. His staff then started moving around the city, trying to latch on to all of the positive work that was being done. And the fatherhood movement was just, we started in '94 and we were going strong, getting things done and getting people involved. And they came and joined us, but they wanted to take over and start doing things for the sake of saying that the mayor was the one who initiated all of this work, etc. One gentleman who in his latest report stated that he started the fatherhood initiative for the city in 2005. But if you look back into Mayor Barrett's history, you'll find on his webpage that he said he opened the office of the Fatherhood Initiative in 2006. So his aide said that he started it the year before, and the mayor said he opened it up in 2006. So somewhere in there, somebody's lying. Yeah. The other part of that is we started the movement in 1994, and I have a list of all of the original members of our board, starting with he's now a apostle. He was named at that time Reverend LaHarvey Buck, and he was working for the YWCA. helping people find jobs. Stevens Jonas, he was the welfare work manager for the YWCA. Judy Fitzpatrick, she was a nurse for St. Joe's Hospital. Ted Anderson, he was the director of UMO's Fresh Start program. Susan Sikora, she was the director of Supporting Today's Parents program for Rosalie Manor. And I can go on down the hill. Bill Clotty, he was an author of a book called Live Away Dads. He worked for the Parenting Network at the time. Kathy Nelson, family living educator at University of Wisconsin. These were the original board members, and this is only a few of them. The people who claimed they did all this work weren't even around. They weren't in the city at the time, or if they were here, they weren't involved. They got involved years later after we created a lot of success in working with non-custodial parents, mostly men. And we do work with women also who have lost custody of their children or coming out of prison trying to get their children back. The point is, I'm not doing this for my ego. I'm not claiming, I did all the work and everything. That's not the way this works. We have a list of 35 people here who helped me build this thing together, and we did it as a team, and we called it the Milwaukee Fatherhood Collaborative. There were 32 agencies with a representative on this board, and Ted Anderson was our first chairman, and he was from UMOS. Reverend Harvey Buck, when Ted's job got too heavy and he couldn't maintain that position, Buck took over, and we all supported all of that. And then when Buck's job got busy, and he's also a minister, he got elevated in the ministry, and he was supervising churches all over the state and in other states. I took over, and from that point on, I've been the president and CEO ever since. But we were a team, and we tried to create a team effort. In 2005, we asked superintendent of schools, he was the #1 superintendent in the state and throughout the Midwest. His name is Dr. Demond Means. He wrote a white paper for us with the city of Milwaukee, of which the mayor endorsed. And during this white paper that was written, there were 40 agencies involved in putting this together. And Dr. Means wrote this paper independent of all of us. And in here, it specifically states how the city of Milwaukee, the county, businesses, and religious people were going to come together and coordinate services to men and single parents. And it says that the agency that should lead this was the Milwaukee Fatherhood Collaborative. The same man I was talking about, I'm not going to name him, who wrote this article about how he did all of this stuff, he and his running buddy took this and rewrote parts of it, putting it on the city. And they claimed that we opened up an office called the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative office. We helped create a once a year, 3-day, what's the word?
3-day
workshop
workshop
for people to come. We got child support involved to come and give people forgiveness plans of their state debt, not the debt owed to the mothers. And we helped them put all that together, and they took credit for all of that. But what they did is when child support did not want to work with them, they went over people's heads and went to the mayor and got the mayor to call the county exec and force them to be involved, even though they didn't want to work with their people. So anyway, it's been ongoing now for over almost 20 years. But the point is, it started with us because we were doing things. We were having forgiveness Tuesdays and forgiveness Thursdays, things that we created with child support, having men come and sign up to make sure that if they weren't paying their child support, that they would get started. They were going to court to lower payments to meet their income standards so that they could have enough money to live on their own. And it worked, but we broadened it through these programs. The deal is everybody wants to take credit for the work, but only a handful of people did the work. We had people like Alfonso Pettis. Alfonso has been working for different agencies, Rosalie Manor, the Vincent Center, et cetera. He does a lot of the same things I do, and we work together like brothers. Charles Richardson, he was involved with this. I can go down the long list of the men who we helped train to get involved. Teron Edwards, he currently runs an organization called Fathers for Progress. He's doing an excellent job. The issue is not that, is what are they doing? We teach classes in responsible fatherhood, parenting classes, healthy relationships, anger management, emotional intelligence.
Right. All the things we talked about in our interview.
Yes, and because I am an Air Force veteran, Vietnam vet, I work with the veterans organizations where I used to be the vice president of the largest African American program for veterans. And we teach reentry. Reentry is people coming back from military deployment, trying to come back to civilian life. And it's a whole different
to rehabilitation, just but
that's correct.
Yeah.
And we also, I took this and I transitioned that into a program for people coming out of prison. So I still teach classes. I've taught classes at Racine Correctional Institute, the youth prison in Racine, and I currently teach at MSDF, which is Milwaukee Secure Detention Prison downtown, and I used to work at the House of Correction, working with people who have been incarcerated and separated from their children for long periods of time, trying to help them come home, come back in the community, help them build a new relationship with their children and get back to a point where stabilizing themselves through getting employment so that they don't have to go to other means to get income. And we helped write programs. One of them was the Prison Project. And the problem with that is the social workers in the prison will not do it because it means paperwork. The Prison Project was about stopping child support while a person is in prison until they get out. 90 days after they get out, then the child support order kicks back in, but you got 90 days from the date of release to find work and get yourself stabilized, finding a home and making sure you got income to be able to take care of yourself, as well as get back on track with your child support. We help write that. The child support office, not under the current administration, these people weren't there at the time, but the previous administration, they set up workshops for us to bring people in almost twice a month to sit down one-on-one with them and work out deals with them to get their child support systems back in order. That was all done through us. And now, since they cut us out of the funding in 2020, I'm still doing the work, but we're not getting paid. And other agencies are doing it, but they're not doing the volume. From 2010 to 2020, we served 12,000 individual men in Milwaukee County, and we served 8,000 families during that time. For 10 years, my office, we had a staff of 9 people plus myself, that's 10, and we served 12,000 individuals and 8,000 families. And it's all documented. And the point is, they cut us out. We were the largest serving agency in Milwaukee County. And they cut out 4 other agencies that were doing excellent work, and they retained only two. And those two agencies, they're housed downtown, 3 blocks away from the courthouse. They took out all of the community-based organizations, north and south. But right now, I get calls every day, and then there's no funding, so the people can't take the courses free as they were before through the federal funding. So they have to pay, and many of them can't. So I can't serve them because I need the money to pay my staff, to pay the rent, and pay the utilities. And see, that is where we have a problem, because we have to turn people away because we have no funding.
Yeah. And Al,
So,
uh, I
go
I
ahead.
I will be wrapping up this recording. That doesn't mean we have to stop recording tonight.
Okay,
Because we could do multiple. It does it in like 45-minute increments for free recordings on
that's
Zoom.
fine. That's fine.
But yeah. So I'm gonna stop recording here, but the major theme is not only are they taking credit and exaggerating the minor role they played, they're saying they initiated your program, and
That's correct.
they're making it, they are harming your ability, lessening your ability to actually do the work. It's disgusting, and we need to talk more about it. And I'm gonna make sure that we get it in every form, video, article. This is an injustice that they're serving. So I'm gonna
Well,
stop the recording. Thank you for talking to me in part one.